Brazil already has a lot of tax reforms in place. I think Brazil needs to look to simplify the tax system, right? I think that's the challenge with Brazil.
I'll talk now to Tushar Shah. He's VP at Thomson Reuters, an expert in taxation, software, engineering, involving everything, regulation. He was born in India and lives nowadays in the United States, knows the reality of all over the world. Let's start this trip in Brazil. What do you see here?
So first of all, let me give you some background. In Brazil, I had software engineering and technology for one of our tax and accounting businesses, where we provide tax compliance solutions for local Brazilian markets. Okay, and what I see here in Brazil is, it's very exciting. The amount of opportunities that currently exist in Brazil from tax reform perspective, does not come close to anywhere else that I see in the world. Okay, of course, I think we all know that Brazil probably has the most amount of tax reforms and legislation changes, around the clock. In fact, as one of the stats indicated, right, there are about 4 changes that are issued by government, 7 by 24 by 365. And what that means to us is, it translates into our constant churn of product development, okay? That also gives us an opportunity in regards to how can we differentiate ourselves, among our competition to help our customers. Everything we do, we keep customers in the focus. So that's what I really see in Brazil.
Companies usually complain about these frequent changes. What do you think about it? Is it healthy for the companies?
So I think that's a great point. It's healthy. Rules and regulations are very important. Okay, because that's how government is going to sort of keep track of what's going on, be able to collect the taxes and fees. Which is better than having sort of free economy. Okay, where a lot of exchange takes place through cash only. Okay, but then when you put lots more rules and regulation, that starts to become a burden. I think in Brazil, you ask anyone, okay, any corporations, and they find what we see on a day-to-day basis quite complex. Okay, and I understand the Brazilian government. I was just in an interview, so there was an event at Thomson Reuters in the U.S. where the president of Brazil was being interviewed. And, it was encouraging to hear that, Brazil is looking to simplify the tax reforms. Okay, so I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how that's going to help the corporations in Brazil.
Okay, continue our trip. Let's go to the United States. What is the situation there?
Yeah, so U.S. is also, when I look at the world and different regions, right? I look at, we have customers, the other product portfolio that I have, we provide tax compliance solutions for, several other countries, okay? Currently that solution provides, solutions for about 50 other countries. And when I look at many other countries, US also has very complex rules and regulation. Nothing compared to Brazil, or not as much as what we see in Brazil. But US also has fairly complex rules and regulations.
And the challenges in Europe?
I think Europe, I think as we know, Europe's economy is just coming back up, okay? And, within Europe, as well as Middle Eastern countries, right? I see that they are, I don't know whether, many people have heard of something called SAFT, okay? It's another sort of, obligation, which is required to be submitted to government, okay? And that's, Brazil is leading the way. We are now seeing some of those, rules and regulations, taking place in Europe as well as in Middle Eastern countries.
And Middle East.
Yeah, so in Middle East, like I said, very newly, so we are seeing GCC, forming. Is about, formed of about 6 different countries, and there also they are employing, the compliance value-added tax, right? And so we're going to start to see that is also supposed to go live early next year in those countries. So again, I think we have some of these tax reforms in Brazil, and I would again relate back to Brazil, where Brazil is sort of leading the way in that regard as well.
And the reality in Asia.
So Asia, I think, provides a very very complex and different landscape. I think if you just look at India and China, right, compared to these two countries, it's the size of 5 times the size of Brazil. Okay, there are definitely a lot of reforms that are taking place, specifically in India. Okay, if you look at India, what has happened in just last 1 year, in India. First of all, let me step back. Again, I use the word free economy, right? There is a lot of business, a lot of commerce that takes place, via cash, okay? And so, one of the things that took place just about a year ago or so is that the government took out, this unaccounted money, okay, out of the economy, out of people's hands, okay? And the second thing that they're doing is they are adding value-added tax, on a very large scale throughout the country, very aggressively, okay? And that has already gone live, okay? So I think these two measures are likely to, create more growth and attract also more investment. Okay. In fact, it is already, from impact perspective, if you see, it's already impacting the GDP in a very major way.
So, are they ahead of Brazil?
I think that's a very tough question, right? I'm not sure if I would say that they are ahead of Brazil, right? Brazil already has a lot of tax reforms in place. I think Brazil needs to look to simplify the tax system, right? I think that's the challenge with Brazil.
So you have studies in specific products to this country, isn't it?
Yes. As I said, so the business for which I handle software engineering and technology, we provide tax compliance solutions for local Brazilian markets. Okay. So I have come across, what we do, how do we need to stay ahead of the competition, what our competitors are doing, and based on that, what we need to adopt, how we need to be you need to be agile and react to markets and customers, right? Again, keeping the customers in focus.
What are the products offered by Thomson Reuters?
Yeah, so we have two. So again, going back to the MasterSep business within Thomson Reuters, we have two major set of products that we offer. One is in the fiscal obligation space, and another one is in electronic invoicing space. Okay, and we have got set of solutions within fiscal solutions and set of platforms within electronic invoicing space. Okay, and as we speak, again, to tell a little bit about the history of MasterSep, we have grown through acquisitions, okay? So if you look back 10 years, 20 years ago from technology perspective, the products were developed via desktop. It was a client-server, architecture, right? That's how the products were developed. And it was very good. It worked very well, right? And it has helped the business significantly, and it has helped our customers quite a bit, right? In making their tax activities in automated way, right? Otherwise, if you were to do it manually, you can do it, considering the tax reforms that we have. So it served its purpose, okay, the desktop application. But I think, what we are currently now, looking at and actually actively working on is how do we take those desktop products, okay, and, take it to cloud, because that's where the world is headed, okay? I understand that, just 5 years ago, people in Brazil would not want to go there. They wanted to hug their data, and they wanted to keep their data on premise, right? The landscape is changing, and it's changing rapidly, okay? And we have heard our customers. We have looked at the trends from market perspective. So we are actively working on taking our MasterSep products to cloud, okay? And also, we have a big ecosystem of other products that we interact with, ERPs that we interact with, right? And ERPs, whether you talk about SAP, Oracle, Totus, right? They're all going to cloud these days. So it's very important that we are changing with them. Okay, and again, we keep customers in focus in regards to what we do, and this would help our customer base quite a bit, because the so what behind this is customers don't have to invest in their own infrastructure. They don't have to invest in training, their staff members, on different products. Because one of the other things that we are also doing is making sure that we have a platform, and via which we offer same UI, UX, okay, navigation, workflow. So it makes it fairly intuitive and self-descriptive for our customers.
And how do you deal with the challenge of approaching new clients, low-income companies?
Yeah, I think that's such a classic conundrum for any business, any industry, and any part of the world that you go to. Okay, it's always constant, and we are always, as I said earlier, we are always trying to look at how are we different from our competition. Okay, and often you have to listen to our customers. We listen to our customers first. We listen to their pain points, and then we try to see how that how our products are going to really help simplify their lives. Okay, so that's the approach that we take.
Tushar, thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to Brazil.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Luciene Miranda to Dukascopy TV.